Really? Which was like back on. And I was like, oh, they can call it flour jelly, but it's like anything. But I mean, they're just so, I mean, they're so fragrant. I love, I will pick it. No. I think infused alcohol would probably be a better way to infuse that flavor. That's a good idea. I just think that. I just think they're really cool. They smell good. Cameron, turned to me. I thought that might be near they were veterans. Should I like sit in the back since I'm not?
Join the round table. Hey, how you doing?
Jesse, can you come feature? Over there, next to Phil. He doesn't bite it.
Come on, man.
I think he's.
I'm just late today.
Very well, thank you.
Pretty little beat down, bud.
Yeah, there will be a.
I'm amazed at that flower. Don't ask me why, but it's just how something so invasive and mean and cruel can taste so good.
Bizarre.
This is a flower?
Flowers, yeah.
Really?
I thought it was staying on the ground.
That's what I thought it was.
They realized how well it grew, and so then it was. But it was like brought in.
Then we'll just continue its march along counterclockwise.
Sorry. Yeah.
I was thinking, what's one that blooms and it almost has these spikes on it. It looks.
I have to leave early again. I'm sorry. This is the last time that I'll come.
I think we just met quorum, actually. One, two, three, four, seven, eight.
But when it after flowers.
So
it
we
spikes
should,
up.
Vote.
Oh.
And
we should
it's,
vote
It's
early.
Yes.
Early and often, yes. I've only got a few things that I could cover, but I don't know what you have planned. Well, let's just get into it. How about that?
So we're gonna call this meeting to
Oh,
order.
sorry.
Because I, again, have to leave early, so I apologize. So, and we can vote, or I'm gonna go ahead and call the meeting to order. So I have a motion to call the meeting to order.
So move.
So I have a second. Thank you. All right. So I know that we have at least one, well, first of all, welcome, Natalie.
Yes, thank you.
For attending. And you will be staying afterwards with our interview committee.
Yeah, I guess you
Do you want
grill
to,
me.
do you want to introduce yourself?
So, my name is Natalie Benzing, and I'm a gardener for the Benson's Hospitality. They have 5 hotels in town, so I do their containers and some of their grounds work. I also work at the UGA Ethno-Botanical Garden, managing that. And Mary Attaway asked if I was interested in this council, and I had been interested in some time, but just never got around to inquiring more about it. And so that was sort of the push I needed a little bit. And I worked with Mary for a couple of years when I first moved to Athens.
Welcome. Thank you. Does anybody have any news or announcements? I know we have a couple of events coming up, right? Do we want to announce those first? Or talk about them at all?
Do we need discussion?
Yeah.
Or just a reminder, I guess, so.
Yeah, because a lot of folks had left by the time we got to them in the agenda last week. Let me get my phone out because I can't remember the exact days. They're on Sundays. So yeah, Education Committee putting on 2 events in October. The first one, Yvette's sort of organizing, and that's going to be another forest bathing event at the Oconee Forest Park, which is behind the intramural fields. And
Tina
Tinsley.
Tinsley.
Yeah, I'm looking at you because you were there.
I was. I don't remember her name though. I was thinking about the forest.
So
As you should.
Tina's gonna be leading us again, and gonna be on the 22nd. That's gonna be on the
Psych.
29th.
29th.
From 10 until 11, so decided an hour. I don't know all the details. But I believe we shared, Yvette shared the details with you.
She's put me in the email chain, yes.
Okay.
I think it's gonna be, yeah, I mean, nothing much different than what you've said that I've gathered from her just yet, but,
Okay.
um,
I would, and if anyone can join, I mean, it's free,
It's fun to do.
It's
It's
really
very
nice.
relaxing.
yeah.
We had really perfect weather for it too. It was not too hot.
Is it gonna have a spooky theme? Should we do it like?
Some people might not enjoy that.
Well, yeah, it's gonna be from 10 to 11, so a little different, but you can wear a costume if you want. And yeah, really for share for promotion of the event with Mateo. We put it on the flagpole.
I just
Cool.
wrote it down.
You
Forgot to put
shared it
that.
with WGA.
Carol needs to sign it, so.
so it's been shared with Flagpole and WUGA.
Needs to, I haven't received that.
I CC'd you on what I said
Okay.
To Mateo, but
I can send it to you.
Awesome,
I'll
thanks.
try to. Okay, so for the weekend before, on Sunday, October 22nd, we're having a free ID walk on North Campus. I said 2 to 3:30 p.m. I think originally it's 2 to 3. I think an hour and a half gives us a little more. A meeting at the Arches.
What was the date again? I'm sorry.
The 22nd.
22nd.
I know I said I would help with that, but I will not be available that day.
That's October 22nd. It's the weekend before. And
The half marathon day, isn't it? It is. I have it here even though I decided not to do it.
Usually it's wrapped up by that.
Yeah, I would think
Like
it'd
it
be
won't interfere.
It might actually get more interest because people will be there already and kind of milling around.
Other than the people that can't walk anymore.
And the half actually ends in the
Miniatures
stadium.
will have
They run.
finished.
Yeah.
yeah, the fast people be at home. Yeah, well, yeah, it starts at the Arches, and we sent the info to Mateo, WGA, got it on flagpole already.
Yeah, I talked with PIO, the Public Information Office, and they seemed very much like lackluster and just like, oh, I don't know what we can do. You should just put it on the calendar on the website. So that's about all we can do in terms of Public Information Office, it
We can
seems.
put it on our Facebook page.
Okay.
And then I CC'd Mary to put it on the Facebook page, both of the events, so.
Okay.
we should have it on there. Yeah, and then Phil's gonna assist, and then Mateo, did you say you were gonna assist with ID?
I think I'll be available.
Basically just splitting, like we did at Sandy Creek, splitting the group into smaller groups, how we learn.
Didn't know how many participants show up. That is a good idea because of questions and so forth.
Yeah.
Slow things down if you have a big crowd, and it's hard to hear.
Carol, do you know off the top of your head, like if we have promotions things, is there someone besides Jeff Montgomery's office to ask? Is there a mechanism in the city to promote things that we do or other boards like that?
Is there a graphic or like for it already with a little tree with ID?
No, but we could create one pretty quickly, I think.
Because I know like I can share it, I can put it on my Facebook and I could send it to Jeff and go, hey Jeff, I'm on the tree council, can we put this over there?
We would love that.
I mean, what?
We would love the little of that, power.
Yeah. So if I get something like that, I'll forward to him
Okay.
and that'll be a reminder to me. I have to put out something, a special edition to my 800 people to get them to sign up to know about boards, authorities and commissions that are about to be interviewed for, take applications for.
Holly, if you
Have you
have,
liked the community tree council page?
Oh, I don't know. There's a
I'll
lot
have to
of.
see there's some over there.
Well, I was gonna say, because Mary's gonna post it on our page, our site, and then you could share it.
Yeah,
but if you want to send me the details, I can create a graphic tomorrow for.
Okay.
Same, I'll just send the details that, essentially those ones that you sent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can send them,
Yeah.
send them to you and Sean at the same
Okay,
time.
perfect. Yeah, I'll create.
Send the description to Sean. And just,
And do you have a list, by the way, do you have a list of trees like we wanna include, or is it gonna be like just every tree we see, we like?
I was gonna map it out. But did you work gonna help as well?
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, if you rather do it that way. but-
I wish I'd love to have some like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, fun facts, mostly focus on that.
We were,
Read about it.
we were gonna meet a little early and do a preliminary
Oh, awesome, great.
share with the group leaders. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I'll send. Oh, I emailed them separately, so I'll take up.
when would the early meeting time be? Probably 1 or 1:30, because it starts at 2.
At least one, yeah.
Early
One seems
1.
reasonable.
Okay. There was mention of, I think Leisure Services is doing a treat, what is it called? A trick or treat?
Trunk or treat.
Trunk or treat, that's the one. And they're doing it on the Firefly Trail in Winterville. Apparently there's a lot of interest and they've got a bunch of people that have signed up and they're looking for vendors essentially. And they reached out to me asking maybe we'd be interested in having a community tree council.
Or you give trees away.
They were thinking candy. I was thinking we could just, well, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah.
Chocolate bar.
Well, I mean, I've got plenty of kid-oriented graphics or handouts that can be given.
I've got lots of pencils.
So really, if we just had people is, I think, going to be the limiting factor.
Is they gonna do it
Um,
on the 31st or what day do we get that?
I'll have to.
I could be available like for that.
Okay.
Yeah, depending
Okay.
on the day. I mean, I think we could probably get a table together, have some of the tabling
Monday?
supplies, I think.
Yeah, we could do like hops, tree hops,
October 20th.
October 20th.
Yep.
Yeah. That, I'm not in town yet. I'm volunteering.
Volunteer.
Apologies.
What are they doing moving?
Too much
I
competition.
get so confused.
They figure they get a better chance if they do it ahead of time.
Yeah, that's smart.
Well, regardless, maybe I'll send out a reminder to everyone and just ask, hey, is anyone available still? Or is anyone, potential they can show up?
Week is it?
Friday, I think.
Yeah.
Is it like in the evening?
I would assume it's early evening, but I didn't get that information. I wasn't able to get in touch with Heather Supik, who's the one that's running it.
Okay, well, when you have all the details, send them out. We'll see if we can put something together for that.
Very cool.
I think I can be available. Did we have any other events or any notices that anybody would like to share coming up soon? Not, do we have any policy committee updates?
Policy committee has not met, but I have, but no, but Tam and I have been emailing back and forth a lot, and I'm excited about the advisory letter and that direction for policy committee and for all of us actually. And then I did have a question since I've been MIA for the last couple of months. Where are we on selection of location for tree plantings for the Ren Allen stewardship?
That was actually the next thing I was
Okay.
gonna bring up, is that we have not actually discussed that
Okay.
to my knowledge since Rin came and visited. So we do need to actually write a formal response to Rin. And I think that we all were in agreement that we were going to plant, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, we can refer to the minutes, that we were gonna plant, like on the Welcome Center property, but not the entirety of the funding on the Welcome Center property.
Yes,
You
I
do
don't-
kind of like a
doesn't expect
memorial
that,
tree or grove, and then the rest along the Firefly Trail as we generally do.
Okay, and I don't think she was concerned with the rest, just send it to Memorial, but are we far enough along, like, would we be able to invite her to November's meeting to present that idea to her?
I was thinking that we could just write her a letter in response.
Yeah, I think a letter would be best. I did notice in our bylaws, which I went through today, that typically November is our kind of end of year meeting where we do a bunch of organizing and, of course we need a Christmas party, but new member welcomes, Arbor Day, the annual report, which is the third Friday in February, MLK Day, third Monday in January.
Yes, we need to.
Green Fest. So November will be a busy meeting.
I'm happy to start crafting a letter to her, and Materi, can I get details of like, site location or approximate cost of that from you? I'll email.
I think we do actually have to vote on,
Okay.
One, accepting the funding from the fund, I guess you'd call it, and two, that's what we want to do with that funding. So, do I have a motion of, let's see. Ronnie always made me say it very particularly. Right. Do I have a motion to accept the funding from,
Except funding from.
what is the name of the group? I don't remember.
Tree babies.
The Tree Babies, thank you. Do I have a motion to accept the funding from the Tree Babies organization for use planting on county property by the Tree Council? That, I'll leave it very broad.
For
so
use
that-
in planting trees on county property.
Yes, and then we can specify in the letter and then vote on the letter like once, or accept the letter once it's written.
Okay.
We have to, I think, vote to accept it and then vote to accept the letter.
Okay.
Does that work?
I would second that motion.
Phil seconds.
All right, I guess I made the
You can
motion.
say
and You
it.
second. Okay, I made the motion. He seconds.
Phil seconds.
Do I have any opposition to accepting this?
Any nays?
I was just with Ren, actually, and I told her where I was coming, and she's like, yeah, I'm waiting to hear from them. So I would.
It was in the back of my mind today that we
With this
should talk about it.
room full, it's a surprise, but I don't think we've had a quorum except that second half of last meeting since.
We have lacked members, unfortunately, so.
Okay.
Is it helpful if I begin to craft the
Yes.
formal response? Okay,
Yes.
I'll do that.
And if you need help with that, let me
Okay,
know.
I totally will.
So the motion
They pass,
carries.
yes.
Passed.
So we will accept
We
that.
haven't
and-
voted on it yet.
Oh,
Oh,
You said
well, I asked
any
if there were any objections.
Okay.
So all in favor,
All in favor?
Sean?
Sean.
Are you in favor?
Are you
In favor of the motion.
By acclamation.
Yes, all right, so yes, it passes.
Just say yes.
Just have to make it official.
And then, I guess
I can at least have that letter like by November and it shouldn't take too long to vote on. I'll have it, I'll send it to everyone before that, whatever we decide the final draft is, and we should be able to do a quick vote on it.
Okay, perfect, that'd be
And
great.
then I'll get it out.
And I'll let Ren know that we have voted and we will be offering a official response to her. That way she's not sitting
I
there.
forgot and do not
Wondering.
remember.
Now we know why you're here. You're a spy.
Yeah, I was like, I'm thinking about
Yes.
this council sit scene, and it's like, oh, 'cause I was like, didn't you used to do that? What's it like?
Very cool.
Moving along, are there any, treasury updates?
Yeah, we have 15 more cents from the latest interest.
Rock on.
And I emailed you all the report. There were no other changes.
We also, old kind of business, we also never delivered on the awards for the Green Life Festival Award ceremony. So we promised the people a print of the tree that owns itself, and I don't know who has those. Do you have them?
I think I have some.
You have
Well,
them.
which
Okay.
ones do you want? The color print or I think you have the pencil drawing, the ones you have?
I don't even remember. It's been a while since I looked at it.
need 3 of them, is that?
We need 2 of them. One for
Now, the
Paul.
ones we have are, that's the
Yes.
ones you want, 2 of them,
Mhm.
okay, tell me, I'm good for it.
Okay,
One right now?
yes.
Okay.
Because otherwise I'll forget because
I just wanna make sure.
that award ceremony
Oh,
was
it is.
in, it was in,
Just go ahead and put them in the frame.
April. Taken me until now to remember to grab them.
I've got those 2 things that we should.
Okay, let's move on to the, I guess, the voting item, the solar advisory letter. Did everybody have a chance to review the letter?
Were there any updates from our comments? Or did it remain the same?
This is essentially what I have is kind of a, uh-oh. I don't know what's up with that. Go away, please. I don't know what you are.
This is where you hang out during the day and watch your soap operas?
Their after school program?
Wish. Yeah, this is kind of what I have. I mean, I don't know what else we should change, honestly. I don't really, I mean, I think, Carol, you correct me if I'm wrong, I think it'll probably end up getting voted on again and possibly a pause put on it or like
Well-
reassessment, or what do you think?
Do you want me to get
Yeah.
you?
That would be great.
Can
Because
swing it
get
for
messed
you.
up otherwise.
And, I'm coming from a little slightly, not totally tree centric on this. Here, the update is that as of now,
It's not helpful.
the non-confirmation, as of now, the proposal is that tomorrow is not on the agenda because items for reconsideration, you can reconsider a vote until the minutes are taken at the next meeting. So before the minutes are approved at tomorrow's meeting, I will most likely, unless things change between now and then, a motion to reconsider the vote of this, which I believe Mike Hamby will second. I will tell you my reasoning for do that and then what the proposal is, which may get adjusted again. And there was public comment at the meeting. I came here and heard the discussion here. That was before Tails later got to the state that it was in, and I learned more about the size of the soil, boxes, everything else. But anyway, you were still discussing when I left my other meeting last time. From my perspective, I see a lot of like reaction to these solar panels. And one of my previous commissioners, colleagues, rallying a cry in 5 points, people asking. And the last thing that I want from a political perspective in terms of my agenda of moving ahead with 100% transition is to create a community combat between solar and trees. And so you guys have gone through some of this, and you can give me feedback on this because it's not done deal yet, right? So between the kind of reaction I saw from you all and the kind of reaction that I saw on the 5 points thing, and then listening actually to Andrew Saunders, where it became clear to me that a lot of the proposal was done somewhat at the last minute, from having, like, when the last time the commission had seen it, the solar panels were gonna be on the roof. Like, so it just came up and it was like, whoa, what's that about? And as he explained it, it seemed to be, like that roof, remember that roof drawing he made?
Yeah,
us?
It
And
didn't
put
make
those
sense.
things. Well, but it sounded like they had just discovered that recently. I called him up like last week to clarify this. I'm like, am I going crazy? They were gonna be on the roof. Yes, they were gonna be on the roof. So there wasn't any discussion about this whole thing in the solar, in the parking lot. the reaction that we got from people in the area, from you guys and such, made me think, I don't want to give fodder to the people who are anti-trees and anti-solar. Let's just pause this. But then I was talking to our county manager, and in fact, I got another proposal from Andrew Saunders, who I've worked with on renewable energy. So I have a lot of respect for him. And basically, this CDO, as it's stated, and CDO, my lingo, is a commission defined option. It just is something, you know, it's a little alteration from what's being proposed, is to, I'm going to leave out the business thing with the contracts, but in terms of where the solar panels would be, which to approve option one is described in facts and issues. I'll cut through that, which basically uses the grant funding in 280,000 of the SPLOST. Well, incorporating recommendations from the Athens-Clarke County Forester Coordinator on how to select locations that reduce impacts on parking lot trees. And the other part was then to direct the project staff to work with the library staff to, this would be with you, the forester too, with utilize up to 240,000 to support additional solar arrays, educational materials, and native landscaping restoration for the project, so long as the additional solar arrays do not necessitate the removal of additional trees. So that's like the heart of the matter there. You know, my new information, you know, I'm reading this thing and you're like, man, these trees are crap, get rid of them. And that's my version of what you're saying here.
Summarizing.
So, and then the library, then today I get a message like the library wants option one. But when I followed up on that, that message on option one could have been from 4 weeks ago. So it's not really clear. And then when I followed up on this with the county manager moments before coming over there, it was also like, the SPLOST office also has management. They also have some ideas. I'll show them to you if you get any ideas that would change this out. So none of this is posted because you don't like, because the reconsideration vote hasn't passed. They don't, the clerk of commissions doesn't want to embarrass me or any commissioner by putting forward a commission defined option on something that even isn't going to get consideration. So this is where it stands right now. As far as my colleagues, my Commissioner Hamby is happy to do this and eager to do something like this. Commissioner Wright was very concerned about the amount of reduction in utility fees for the library, and that cutting it down a little bit would reduce the savings that they would get during these years right here. You know, from my bigger global perspective, you know, I'm thinking if the money's not used for the extra 240,000 isn't used here, it'll be used in 6 months on another project. So the community reduction of CO2 is, you know, basically the same, you know, I don't know, maybe a little bit different by months or whatever. So my interest, so I think I've been pretty transparent. That sums up everything. I'm not going to quite say it like that at the meeting. So I don't know if you have any input on that. I did talk to Andrew afterwards, like last week, to, you know, check in to see if he thought my evaluation of the politics of this was had merit, and he agreed. Everyone has agreed with me, and so like I don't want this to become a fight, because if we're like, these things aren't even up yet, right? And aesthetically, like I just texted Andrew, because I think a lot of us, like I go through the College Station parking lot to get on the greenway on my bike, and there's these little solar arrays that are used for the lights. Well, I just came down on the sidewalk behind the by the police department, and
They're matching.
what?
Those are the same ones.
Those are the same ones. And those things are mammoth. So they're like, I mean, I just, you know, I rode by on my bike and I'm like, whoa, because like, you know, just having the reaction aesthetically I don't want to turn the community. I mean, I think actually having 4 of them will be pretty, significant. I mean, with 9 of them or 8 of them, it's gonna be overwhelming here. And so they are the same. Thank you.
Yes.
That's good. If you haven't driven, good. I mean, it's
They're
not like
big.
you live
Right.
for-
They're back behind, family protection,
Right.
right, next to the diversion.
They're not the
centers.
little ones. They're about like,
They're
They're
the
like-
size of this room.
they're about the size of this room. Yeah. So we're talking like,
45 feet in width.
how long is this? How long is this? What do you think?
Yeah, 30.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, almost, yeah, this one about 40 feet.
Yeah, so these are not like the little solar panels. So even after passing them on the way over, I'm like, oh my God, that's gonna like,
So
Yeah.
Carol, even in the midst of the other planet I've been on, like I was getting all these emails and people were contacting me and I contacted Mateo and said, I'm not in a place where I'm not gonna help with this quite yet, but I need y'all to know that this is up and coming. So I wanted them to know, and my primary contact with him, and I wish I would have been able to be here for that meeting, was that, as a council, I would very much like us to be setting up exactly what you're saying, not adversarial. Like, I am not opposed to transitioning the community to solar and clean renewable energy, and I also am in favor of trees. So some of the real weaknesses in this process is that, like a lot of landscaping, it is not considered in the plan for whatever the facilities management is until the very end, and it's often structured down to its lowest level. So some consideration for the impact on the trees, on our community trees, needs to be given consideration in the beginning of the process. You know, they need to much earlier consider that impact. Like if they're talking about transitioning to parking lot trees, I wasn't on that committee. I don't know how they reached that decision-making process, but it doesn't seem like they considered the impact on the facilities, which includes trees.
it seemed from, and you guys who were here last time, were here. I mean, when Andrew was talking about Andrew Summers last time, did not get I got the impression that this was done in like, they had to make a change of plans. They
Right.
came up with this.
Yeah.
This is the best they can go for going forward. And
He was very adamant that it was the only option, that there was nothing else.
So the B in that is like, okay, so this is the series of decision-making process, and we've come up with this thing less than ideal. So in doing so and saying it's the only process, they didn't compensate the community in any way. They didn't say, look, parking lot trees are kind of a disaster, and this is going to be better for the community environment, but and not wanting to lose trees and wanting to make sure we have enough trees, we're going to put them here, or we're going to look at the entire property and say, this is the balance. Because it's never going to look, if we take 14 parking lot trees away from the library, I'm still going to be getting those emails that no one's going to see that as a balance. So just the optics on it for the library and for Andrew's office, they need to explain how they are balancing it.
well,
Talking about Carol, it comes down to how that message is delivered to the community.
Exactly.
It's not a matter of if we should do this or should,
Well, there was the other option. I don't know if he made it clear. I mean, there's 200, the grant money. There is an option with fewer, and you just don't put as much up now and do it later and use it somewhere else. I mean, like, I don't want to lose the 240,000 in grant funding, right? So they had in this report to just do that.
But I
Yeah.
don't want to do this every single time.
No, so there
for
needs to
the-
be,
For the new library, I don't want to be like, oh, this is causing an uproar, so now we're just going to do a little bit, and then
Right.
we'll come back later and do it. That's completely, y'all.
Well, it
That's
also-
efficient governance.
Yeah.
Like,
It also wasn't, I mean, again, it wasn't as if, I mean, it sounds to me like up until a month ago, it was gonna put it on, on the roof, and it wouldn't have been an issue. So it wasn't even, you couldn't even, you weren't like, oh, these are gonna go in the parking lots, this new thing, we need to do all this stuff. This was just kind of came up at the last minute, and it's being presented. And yeah, I agree with you, but I don't even know if how much education, like the 4 I don't know, I'm just balancing it out there, you know, in terms of the reaction from the
It
neighbor.
might be a good lesson for them to learn because there's going to be more of this moving forward. And we are not, I mean, I wouldn't say that, honestly, everyone loves trees, like everyone thinks we love trees, you know, and so, but the balance of, the tree versus the progress in facilities is often the tree loses in that. That happens to solar all the time
Yeah.
too. And the balance of building the building and energy efficiencies, solar is often left off. So honestly, we're both steps children, so we work together.
Right.
So we're gonna wanna put trees in a lot of places where we're gonna wanna put solar.
Yeah. You did mention last time that the projects going forward will be considered, you know, they'll have solar panels on them and they'll have the right roof. So he did say that, so it wouldn't be like this roof, they realize this is the right kind of structure for it. They did say that the government buildings going forward, they're just gonna have that. Yeah. Solar built in. So, and he did, when I talked to him on the phone, like, do we need to make another policy about roofs, like to make sure you get the right roof each time?
The long-term benefits of these solar panels will vastly outweigh the long-term benefits of the trees that are in that parking lot.
but if you
Because the
think-
lifespan of those
Yeah.
trees is, you know, what, maybe 10 more years?
But the four solar panels that are there, the extra, they're not gonna not happen. They're just gonna happen somewhere else. So it's not just a question of have it or not have it. It's like have it now versus have it somewhere else and better manage the education and the public perception so that we don't create endless negative responses. Because you've been through the education and you know the trees, but you know, so at this point, like when you guys brought it up at the beginning of the meeting, I heard people going, trees, what are you crazy? Like whatever. But you've been in here being educated. The majority of the public is not gonna really get that. And I'm not,
How do you present the message?
well, true, but they're not ready to present it in real.
But even them coming up with a plan, you know, realizing it's more of like Jesse's saying is that the balance of it, like, the roof didn't work and they didn't know that. So they have another plan because they have this mandate to do the energy process
Right.
part of this. Removing that mandate, I don't think they're being creative enough in figuring out the balance of maintaining the whole environment. And we're gonna have to ask them continually to be creative about looking at the whole picture because they both could work together really well. But they're gonna have to not just think, we're taking the trees out of the parking lot, there's no place to put them in the parking lot. They need to really look at the whole property and say, well, where can we put them?
And Mary, as you know, there's also no, like, we're hiring a new energy coordinator now.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Well, not that part, but the next part, there is no, like, there's this money that's going to be spent, but there's no master plan. So there tends to be, from my perspective, it's like, let's just put it here, let's put it there, let's put it there. And it's like, is that the best cost? And I'm not talking about this project. So the overall evaluation of put the money here versus put the money here and energy efficiency transition, it's not being thought of really, what's the word, globally in terms of the project money and what's going on here. And so a project comes up and it's like, let's put it there, let's put it there, and which may be a fine thing to do, but like, don't think that there's a master plan behind this, whereas evaluating the best place to use the money for the best, what the best return on investment. So I'm not necessarily thinking that they put it there because it was like, this is the best return on investment that we can do in the next year. They put it there because this is a project now, let's put it on here, we got this other grant, we're having someone come in, let's put
Is
more.
this money, not all of it, but the money is administered from the SPLOST office. And so, a director or the project comes from, someone asks the SPLOST office, can I use SPLOST money to do this project? Maybe someone independently. So Office of Sustainability says, we want to put solar in the parking lot at the library, and he can ask the Office of SPLOST if that's fundable. and then he starts the process of
I
developing.
believe, I don't even know what the process, but it's also, they were asking for the matching grant and making this up totally, but like, well, we're on it, why don't we do some more there? Like the mental health facility that's going up is getting money from SPOS too.
Right.
Which might not be the worst thing in the world, but again, it's not part of any.
From what Andrew said is that the grant funding would go away if they didn't use it for this project.
Yeah,
And so that was a kind of key component to why they're pushing it through. And not to discount the efforts that have been put in by Andrew and his department already into, presenting this and the time and effort they've been put into figuring out how to ensure that this could still happen on that property. I mean, my fear is that if it gets pushed back 6 months, the grant funding's lost, and then, the next property has complications, and then they put all this time and energy into that property, and then, something happens and we have to vote on.
oh, let me clarify, we're voting on stuff, we're voting on the money to use the grant tomorrow, like it's there, and if this goes through, we would be getting the grant money tomorrow. I mean, we would not, it's not to postpone it or not get the grant money.
So is the letter that Mateo's crafted, is it a useful tool, or is it a more useful tool that, assuming you present a CDO, that the tree council supports Commissioner Meyer's CDO? Or
I don't want to, I mean,
that's very political for us too. We can't do that.
I thought you were saying that you weren't gonna vote for it.
Oh, no, I'm the one who's presenting it.
Oh, okay.
I'm the one who's presenting it. And what I'm saying is it's presenting it and saying, let's definitely do option one where we use the grant money and we match it. And that gets 4 of these mega solar flip things. In addition, direct staff to work with the library and the SPOS management to see if they can put some more up
And
the forester in a thoughtful.
So it's basically a delay of what kind of final plan they do.
more process.
Well, a little bit more process about the other 4, right, in there.
I think that seems reasonable because it doesn't seem well thought out.
And I think I love tying in the stakeholders. That's useful for us to be tied in.
Yeah, and I'll make sure I put Forrester in the second one as well, though it's in there. But I would, like, those are really big.
That's great shade for all your cars.
It is, it's great shade, but it's gonna,
No more plants.
So
you guys decide on.
we need to decide if we want to put forth this letter in support. That is what we are voting on.
Yeah, so I put this letter out hoping that I would get people modifying it and breaking it down and helping. I didn't really get much response, which I went ahead and just took as, yeah, everyone, it makes sense, because it makes sense to me what I've said there. I think I really strive to be pragmatic. I think solar panels are important. I think they're going to shade this parking lot way better than the struggling trees we've already put in there. It's going to cost less for the government to, for us to maintain. I think we can actually really put in a functioning forest elsewhere. So while the optics might make it look bad, and I don't know, maybe some of y'all are worried about voting to put forth a letter, basically, I mean, I guess it kind of does approve or is, not too critical of the removal of these trees. But I think this is a win for the canopy of Athens-Clarke County if we're able to do this and get, $20,000+ where we can actually plant trees with it. So, and honestly, I mean, our board, the Community Tree Council, we are here, I put it there in the center of the table, our mission. And, the main thing is to be an advisory board. And I think contextualizing the commissioners with, hard, data, hey, this is the volume that they're in. We don't really expect that they're going to get much bigger. I feel like this is a good thing for us to offer, because, especially right now when other votes are going to be happening. I think, we could always, Andrew Saunders seemed to be really flexible, saying that they may very well change this in the future, move it around, figure out other spots. But you can see, I think there are a few other options down on the bottom one where we would be leaving Tupelo trees that are happy and in lots of soil. You know,
Is it permanent, or when they finally get the roof, which she said had about a 10-year lifespan on it left, like when they get the roof, then it could the solar go back to the roof and we could plant appropriate trees in the.
I mean, I guess you could plant something you'd expect to get to like 400 square feet. So a small or very small tree species.
They wouldn't take them out though, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, that, like, are they permanent or if they're just the roof?
Yeah, so, but when the
They just
roof
add to
schedule
the
comes in, they'll add to the roof, they're trying to get 80% is the goal.
Yeah, I mean, I just shared
Yeah.
there that there's a way, I think that information is really helpful. I just
Me
circled
too.
2 sentences that one could just take out and share that information. It could go either way. Just in terms of the information about the tree replacing it.
So the most useful use of this recommendation letter would be to send it out to the mayor and commission in the morning. Today's Monday, and y'all meet tomorrow and we're going to discuss this. So if we can get the letter emailed to
Right.
vote and agree
Yeah.
on.
I will say that if you are, like, I don't know how my colleagues will react. And so if that goes like taking away the 8 trees, like I cannot tell what's gonna happen. Right now, we're in a good place. I mean, this is a lot.
If they know that these trees aren't really gonna thrive in that spot anyway. That's what convinced me, because I was thinking, well, they're struggling anyway. If people look at the picture, you can see where where you have a cluster of trees, they're so green. And out in the parking lot, they look like they're half dead already, just from the aerial photograph. And so that convinced me that, yeah, maybe, because we do need to go, we do need to try and do the best we can as far as rooftop solar, and don't have that as an option. These half dead trees,
Well, I'll let you guys make your own decision. I can even leave and you can make your own decision, because I have also I'm thinking about it as what's gonna happen. There's a lot of political dynamics going on. Tomorrow's a big night because we're voting on the homeless policy and the affordable housing plan. Right now, things are really smooth and happy. There's a lot of internal dynamics among the commissioners. This would be at the very end of the meeting, because if I reconsider it, then it gets to put on new business at the end of the meeting. I don't necessarily, I mean, I will be reading that. As Mary knows, we have a very busy schedule and it all might not be completely, read, or evaluated. So, anyway, that's so my thing of where it says I want the 8 trees, that they confuse people to even consider other options, unless you guys, so that's fine either way. Of that.
Mateo, sorry. I'm inclined to agree with you. I think that there's the optics of destroying trees to create solar, but then there's the informed opinion of people who know or should know that in essence, we're not giving up anything. If we give up those trees, we are creating a place, hopefully with the library folks in agreement, to put more trees on the library property and perhaps elsewhere as well, and also have solar. So, I think as a commission of not just interested citizens, but a number of people on here who have backgrounds that are biology based and even arborists, that we know more than just the optics of trees versus getting rid of trees, and that it's our responsibility to bring what knowledge we have as a commission to bear on these decisions that are being made. We're gonna face this over and over again until we're no longer putting solar anywhere except on new buildings that
Yeah.
were designed and constructed with the whole idea of solar support in mind. So this is not the only time we're gonna have to do this, and I just really don't want to give in to just public uninformed opinion as a tree commission.
Would you be able to be at the meeting in case commissioners have any questions? Like if it was to confuse the commissioners on information, would you be able to be there to clarify? Or they could always clarify.
I guess the question you'd be asking is, are, like, if, you know, and you can think of this, if I have a CDO that I just presented to you, are you, the question would be not like just what this information is. It's like, would you go up and say, forget that CDO, just stick with what you have? So that's the question.
That's not for us to decide.
Right.
But it says it at the beginning of that. It says eight solar arrays.
Right.
So,
And
well,
that,
and the
that is
CDO,
for the commission to interpret as they will. We're not making policy decisions.
And we don't know there's going to be a CDO.
And we don't know that
Craft
there's
this
going
letter,
to be.
craft this letter.
right. Well, that's why I'm just sharing it.
Yeah,
That's why.
yeah.
But I feel like I should leave and let you discuss this independently because
I
I'm
don't
not.
think it does in conflict, even your CDO, as it reads to me, you're asking them to slow down, include a few more people, consider the process. I don't know that that would change the number of solar arrays.
It doesn't change our opinion if we vote on this.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't. It's just, I am too involved in the politics of this. There's a lot of people coming into the commission meetings these days that are quite conservative in nature. So I'm well aware of their ability to take something and use it as a wedge to decide to differ that. So that's what my cautiousness is in.
Yeah, I do appreciate that. And certainly we're not trying to create a divide, but I do think, standing and starting to have an opinion, will actually help with that kind of wedging. Like it's more difficult to wedge if there's a lot of good information out there.
Right. And I think the same information needs to be out there, whether or not it's 4 or 5 solar arrays that are in there.
Yeah.
I think you're gonna get that same thing, but I'm gonna let you guys decide that.
Thanks,
So
Carol.
if
We appreciate you.
Like in regard to optics, has anyone talked about like making the solar panels look like trees?
Well, I just wonder about like dappled light.
He did talk about the option of like the flowers, because they have them. And he went several options and said that they were not viable, that what they chose was really the only option. So I don't want to rush the vote, and I think the discussion is good. I do, however, have to leave, so if anybody has anything really pressing that they need to say on this issue, I'd like to call this to a vote. So I'm going to make a motion to accept Mateo's letter as written and present to the mayor and commission tomorrow morning ahead of the meeting tomorrow evening. Do I have a second to, Sean seconds?
I would like to ask though, what sentences did she want removed?
No, she said I can share with you. So she was worried about I think the 8 of the 10 factors. I think, if I'm hearing y'all heard the same thing, so tell me if you think this is what she was worried about, was that she's saying there could be an alternative plan. And that Mateo specifically addressed the plan they presented. And that if they had this, but that's all we have.
Could we change it to up to 10 solar trackers and leave the 8 out of it?
I
Leave it more.
think that our opinion should change based on her
Yeah.
discussion, because, and here's why, like, we are not here to be involved in political matters.
Yeah.
Our opinion doesn't change regardless of how the commission votes. Like,
And this is the proposal that was brought to us, that was shared with us.
What they voted on.
And that's the new information, the 400 cubic feet of soil that we're trying to impress upon people that wouldn't necessarily realize how compacted the trees are.
Well, what if you just changed it from 8 of 10 to just the solar trackers proposed are in the parking lot? take the number aspect out.
which provide their dying elm tree suffering.
I mean,
Long songs.
So my motion is to accept it as written. Somebody else can make a motion to change it or cannot vote in favor of it. So I think that,
I think I'll make a motion to submit this just as the solar trackers proposed.
So take that as a friendly amendment.
Yes.
So,
okay, all right, well then, if you do that, then I will amend the vote to say, or amend the motion to say as written with the change of the solar trackers instead of 8 of the 10. So, does your second still stand? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Do I have any opposed? No? All in favor?
Yay.
Do you need me to
Very
sign
happy
it as the
about
president?
this.
what?
Do you need me to sign it?
Sign the minutes?
No, sign the
Oh.
the
Letter.
letter.
I can send it to you tomorrow.
Okay.
Or here in just a little while. Yep.
Okay. Do we have any other, before, I'm sorry, I promised the last time I have to leave early. Do we have any other voting items before I leave?
I thought I would maybe, but I don't. And I can explain after you leave if you think.
You'll change president, you'll take position.
I can explain it as you're leaving too.
Phil's motion.
I was going to talk about vacancies. I talked with Jean Spratland of the manager's office. She's the clerk of commissions. Sometimes we'll have issues meeting quorum, and I thought, well, maybe we can get around that. If we get rid of absentee people, I actually tried to reach out to Ernie Cox and Victoria Goff. Victoria said, yes, I'm not going to be able to attend. You can take me off. Ernie, I was not able to reach. But regardless, even if those positions are vacant, our quorum is still 8 people because we have 15 members. Even though our bylaws say, ours say a quorum shall consist of half of the non-vacant positions of the voting membership. But if we go by the manager's office, a quorum consists of the majority of the total number of members that comprise the BAC. This quorum requirement does not change even if a position on the BAC is vacant and the commission is not appointed a replacement. So
A misinterpretation, like as the manager's office was incorporating the bylaws, that it's
it might
the
be.
language might have not been translated.
I think regardless, both of those positions are rolling off this December. So
We need to replace them anyway.
yeah, so I don't really even think we need to vote on it. We can just wait on it and actually spend some time really trying to, because we do have a position open right now with Patrick having left. But there are a few things that we have to do. I'll have to notify Jean Spratland of vacancies. We put it out through Public Information Office and through a few other options. The only stuff that I have from the Community Tree Council for its outreach to announce, because we have to do some announcements, is one for Access 7 cable television. And it seemed to be copied and pasted many, many times in different years. And then we also had something for a media release, which was something that we've just reused over and over and over again since I think 2001. So that may be something here soon we'll need to do. I would assume that's something for the November meeting, which is our end of year meeting. Like I mentioned, we'll have a few things that we need to plan, but I think making something other than Access cable television announcement is probably good at this point. We need to get with the times.
Best kept secret in the county, right?
We are an int council, and ints move slowly, but it's been a while.
But and the weird thing is that they announce all these other committees, like the airport over, and we're never included in that list, and I don't understand why.
So I want to know, just kind of say, Carol, because clearly that's a governance information channel that somehow we're not in, that we need to get in. Because we're the same type of body, we're the same type of governing body. I may try to track down that.
Yeah, I can't figure out why we're not. But
Why we're not what?
when there's always a public call from the public information office for people to apply for all these different counties, like the airport county and and everything else. And the tree council is never on that list, even though it seems like we should be in parallel with them.
Yeah, so in the thing it says, so Clerk of Commission posts the package to the ACC government website. This is when we have vacancies. PIO posts to ACC TV channel 180. PIO prepares a general media release, media announcement through the newspaper articles and or public service radio.
So it may have been as simple as the vacancy announcements weren't getting to Jean's office in time to be included in this package.
Yeah, I never reached out to her when Patrick vacated. I didn't realize that I was missing out on that. It also says mayor and commission is notified and encouraged to have interested citizens apply.
Tell Miss Jean something, she takes care of all that.
Yeah. So that will happen very soon. And considering Victoria already told me that she's stepping down, I mean, we could already go ahead and get that process started. And just mention to Jean that there will be a vacancy, and then this next meeting, we can have some sort of a
Did Tori send
discussion
you
there.
an email or anything in writing? You might want to ask her to do that because Jean lost.
Okay. Yeah, I'll reach out to her tomorrow. I was able to get her on phone, so just ask her to send me something in writing.
She's a lawyer.
Do what?
Tori's a lawyer.
Is she
It's
really?
all about it, right? Yeah.
No.
So she-
I've only
like
seen
the
her
meetings
twice on
before
Zoom,
it.
so
Yeah.
I did not know.
That's all I've got. So I think vacancies can be addressed. I think maybe we should just get an email discussion started. I'll start it, and if people have ideas on other ways to reach out, I think WUGA might be a good option. I don't know how we'd be able to, though. I know New Urban Forestry, like y'all are a contributing company, yeah, sponsor. So y'all get your time on there, but I wonder if they would be willing to just mention without some sort of
There should be,
donation.
there is a, yeah, there's,
Do some public.
yeah, there's,
Okay.
yeah, they have a mandate to do public service announcements.
They
at
have done
fires,
the
so-
tree council before.
Okay.
Name Day was on there.
Okay. Would Jessie be the right person for us to try to use her old connections with WUGA?
No, like I have. I have.
Miss her.
Very cool.
I've always loved hearing her.
Free ID check.
Okay.
So maybe you should just do it on.
Well, that's all I had for that. What other treasurer's report we did? Over there, I've got interview questions and score sheets for that.
And I can stay for, I didn't know until about 30 minutes before I got here that I'd be able to stay. So I'm supposed to stay, so I will stay and I look forward to it.
I think, yeah, just to talk about a little bit more, the library solar project has really kind of started. Andrew, you got me interested and told me to go ahead and delve into the idea of, how do we handle these issues in the future, because there are going to be a lot of developers that see it being cost effective and questioning, well, why can't I just put it there in place of a parking space? And there are a lot of times where the planning department, I see developments go through with variances for things like conserved canopy. And usually Brad, the director of planning, is really keen on getting them just to do a larger percentage of planted canopy in lieu of conserved canopy. There are some limitations to that, even at, at some level. And as all of the really easily developable land in Athens gets taken up and it gets more and more expensive to develop, I think parking lot trees are they're in a crosshair. So a fee and lieu system, I know Rodney was looking into that. And Andrew told me that after a long journey, the Athens-Clarke County attorney basically said, like, I don't think it's legal for us to do a fee and lieu system.
Previous attorney.
Yeah, Andrew did mention
Minded attorney.
the new one, while the old attorney probably had a very extremely conservative viewpoint or definition or interpretation, whereas he thinks now we'd be much more likely to have a favorable interpretation, especially considering there are many, many large cities that do have fee and lieu systems.
And the balancing of cooling, like if these panels could act as a cooling is what we were asking the trees to do. But the trees also, I mean, that's not a particularly strong addition to our community canopy. So if the solar provides the shade that for the cars that we were initially asking the trees to do, we could potentially have a stronger canopy planting and then more successful, assuming that everyone has the information they need to make that happen.
I think it'd be easier too, because the library, I know Andrew mentioned the way that the parking lot is semicircular. It doesn't lend itself to having a large canopy that covers the entire thing. So new development will be able to do that, get much more efficient energy for the size. Yeah, but that should be on everybody's radar. Possibly, I'd like to have some sort of an advisory letter to mayor and commission about maybe a fee and lieu system, or maybe something along that line. I'm going to be working with.
Policy worked on that 2 years ago. I'll dig up our notes on
Cool.
that, and we talked about it at length.
Mhm.
And we started to use another term because it wasn't as triggering, and I'll try to remember what that was.
Tree trust fund, I know a lot of counties have used, and
It's just that, but we discussed that at length for almost an entire year. And so I miss Patrick because we did some really good work on that. But we've talked about that in policy a lot. I'll dig out those notes and see
cool.
how far we got, but maybe you can email Patrick just to see. Yeah, because he had some really great ideas along those lines.
Very cool.
What does that mean? It would mean if you were going to do development, and the example we were using was sort of a downtown dense apartments where the Greenwood starts, yeah. And they, so they had to, they took up that hill and they, just to keep the soil from eroding, just the way the site was complicated, they got a waiver to not have to do all the plantings that they were required to do. And at the time they got that waiver, which is why we started the discussion of policy, there is no, it's just a waiver. They just get a waiver. And so that, that cost and impact on the community is not balanced or translated anywhere else. And so we were working on trying to get a concept of a policy where they could get a waiver in percentages. So like, let's say you wanted to cover 50% of your required build instead of 100%. And so we'd say, okay, you can do 50% of your required planting, and you pay this much and it goes into this fund that incorporates other parts of the communities for plantings and maintenance and mitigation. And so, the 100% would be like the most expensive fee. And when we first started talking about it, the fee seemed to accept, the planning department worries on the fee end that it would be discouraging to development. And now we know nothing discourages development. There's plenty of money out there. And so, and actually asking the development to pay that up front in Atlanta, I mean, they had started to do this, and other communities, Asheville, I think, does it. And but you might know actually, but that is the best time to ask. You know, so if you are setting the plan down and you're setting those requirements, if they're going to get special permission, plan development, if they're going to get special permission to build it this way, we want that to be the time that the canopy is compensated. So that's what we were working on. And so you would pay a fee in lieu of planting the normal requirements for canopy and for a percentage of conserve, a percentage of planting that you require. And that's what, then they call it fee in lieu. And it does typically go, it would go to, the other problem we had was, in thinking, and y'all be thinking on this, is like, where does that go? Does planning have that money? Do you have that money? Do you have that money? Does Andrew have that money? Like, where does that fee go was kind of one of the stickier parts of who gets to manage the money. Because then that will determine, right, if it goes into just the general funds, we don't get to dog ear it for anything we want for trees. Soil, boxes downtown, if it's what, and so we need it to go in a place where it's dog eared for trees.
So if they have, like, say, the development that's out by the mall, where they want to redo that.
Right.
It sounds like it's gonna be a great walkable community, correct? A lot of green space, but if the developer says, well, I can build 3 more houses if I just get rid of this lot here, and it's like they do the cost of the houses. But if it's supposed to be a walking community, and you have these no trees, it's gonna be like, who wants to walk on, with no tree cover? It's like, you'll be like a worm on a sidewalk. You'll be dried out by the time you get to wherever you're going.
That's a
because
great
there's
example.
nothing.
The variance doesn't have to be granted though.
Yes.
They could still be held accountable to our conserved and planted canopy coverages. But when a variation or a variance is granted though, currently there's 2 different ways that you can come up to standard. Either increase your planted canopy or you can do forest regeneration sites, which I don't think has ever been done.
Yeah, it sounds good.
You have to set aside like 2,500 square feet. You have to plant it very specifically. So Andrew and Wick and I talked about it, and he thinks that single line could be changed in the tree ordinance to put in a fee and lieu system in that. And it seems, it sounds like it would work before talking to the lawyers.
That's really an example. The mall, in fact, is what they call a PD, a plan development. A PD is, we want to do something that isn't exactly laid out in the rules. We're going to give you this if you let us do this. So when the mall developers, the developer that came with the mall development initially, they sent us the plan and said, what do you think? And I was like, well, and that was my official response. But and a lot of people had a lot of input on the housing, how it was, the walkability. And for me, it was the plantings and how they arranged it. And Rodney also weighed in, and they went back to the drawing board, actually fired their person that had made the original plan and hired a new person. And they came back with what I would consider to be a significantly better plan. It is not perfect. It is not everything that I would hope for in that large of a development that has a potential impact on so many neighborhoods and the Atlanta Highway, but they have much more planning on the Atlanta Highway side. They have a much more buffer back towards the neighborhood side. They didn't just do the parking lot, lines of trees and then an open field. So that's just from one ask where we say this could be better. And so I feel like if we keep asking for the code to be better and say, actually the code, and we keep refining it, then we'll start in a better place and we'll ask that to be better and we'll get an even better response. So that's one reason why I'm interested in the way we ask for things policy-wise. Because I think it helps make things better if it's good policy, which is like impossible.
So that's what I've been working on. Well, among many other things. I guess We leave at 5:30 usually.
Yeah.
Who's taking over for Jessie? But she's gone.
You have to close us out.
Well, I might as well just motion to adjourn. I don't know.
Second that motion.
Seconded. Any nays? Ayes.
Stand.
Abstain. Okay. Oh, you're staying. Staying.
When you vote with your feet. So often.
Yeah. No.
That's just changed your mind.
Like, okay, maybe I should just go out.
Man, you're
and-
genius.
Just go.
Next time, save me a chair.
Mateo.
I see you just put some
I'll be
other
right back.
regular person. I thought that was gonna be.
Like the paragraph, or give you the number of.
Yeah.
You guys are looking at for that change.
Mhm.
I think that, that sounds good, and Andrew's such a genius at finding the point, the simplest point to insert that.
Yeah.
I love helping.
I'll just send you the email chain that I've got.
I'm not as skilled as Andrew, and we were talking about it, I couldn't find a place. I didn't, you never wanted to create a whole new thing, you always wanted to make.
I think I am.
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't think unless
yeah.
they get finish out.
I love Andrew.
Yeah, me too.
I've been talking with him more and more here lately.
Sean's on it, I think. Let me
He's just
ask him.
You're right.
he's a problem solver, which is,